What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. In today's What's going on, I'm showing you how to do an oil change on your Mercedes-Benz W204 C-Class, and in my case it's the C250 sports sedan. Now the process is the same for the C300 and the C350. The only difference is where the oil filter is. Other than that, the process is the same. As you can tell, I also have some ramps to do this job with because I'm all about safety, and I personally do not trust the jack that comes with the car. So I went out and bought some ramps from AutoZone, and I've been doing this ever since I got the car, and it's been working great. And without further ado, let's get to the products and what each specific one does. Alright, now as you can tell, I am using Liqui-Moly, and this is a product I've been wanting to use for a very long time, probably ever since I got the car. But when I first got the car, I've just been using Mobil W204 fully synthetic, which is what is recommended. But I more recently got a little bit of an education on Liqui-Moly, and they are definitely better than Mobil from what I've heard and from what I've been told from actual representatives from Liqui-Moly. But this is not a sponsor sort of video or anything like that. This is just what I've been told. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to go through like everything. Now I am using 5W40 because I live in the desert, and the viscosity of this is going to work better. And before I do the oil change, I actually got a couple of other additives to help with the longevity of the car. And this first one is an engine flush, and you do this before you do the oil change. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this in where you put the oil, where you put the motor oil, and then I'm going to let it sit for about 10 minutes so that way it gets through the whole system. And then I'm going to drain the oil, put in some fresh oil and a new oil filter. And then after I do that, I will be putting in the MoS2 anti-friction engine treatment. And this works great as well. It helps with the longevity of the engine. And I'll just read off some of the stuff that is beneficial for the car. Now this helps with smoother running of the engine. It reduces oil and fuel consumption. You get greater operating reliability, and this is tested for turbo chargers and catalytic converters. So this right here is something to definitely look into if you want to help with the longevity of your car. If you have a high mileage car like I do, which is roughly about 111,000 miles. So now let's get into the oil change. Alright, so before we get started with the oil change, we're going to do the engine flush. And obviously the first thing you're going to want to do is take off the oil cap, and then take off the cap to this, put this in, and you're going to put the whole bottle in there because you want it to run through the entire system of the car, so that way it flushes everything out. Any deposits, any carbons, any metal, anything at all. You just want to like drop that whole can in there. Now once that is all in there, I'm going to let the car run for about 10 minutes, and then after that, then we will get to the oil change. So that should be about it. Put the cap back on. Start the car and let it idle for about 10 minutes. Now I'm going to set a timer, and we will be back in 10. And we're back. So it's been about 10 minutes. I let that engine treatment, that engine flush go through the car. Now I'm going to close the hood, get the car on the ramps, and then we'll get to the oil change. Alright, so now that the car is up on the ramps and the e-brake is engaged, that way nothing potentially goes wrong, next thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to get an 8mm socket and a wrench, and then you're going to need to take the undercarriage cover off. Now it's a little bit of a tight fit underneath there, so I'm not going to bring the camera, but I'm going to try and bring it as low as possible so you guys can see what I'm doing. I'm glad I did this later in the evening because it would have been too hot to do it. Now the undercarriage plate that you're going to need to take off is, I don't know if you can see it, but it's this back one right here, right where your downpipe is, which is right here. Your downpipe's right here, and then your bracket's right here. Not your bracket, your undercarriage cover is right here, so you're going to take that off first. All those bolts off, this can easily slide out. Slide that back, just like that, and then you have access to your oil pan. Alright guys, once you take that undercarriage cover off and you locate your oil drain plug, which is right here, you're going to need a 13mm socket. Such a random size, but you'll need a 13mm socket. Make sure you have your oil catch can underneath it because all that oil is going to come out really quickly. And you also want to remember to take the cap off the top where you put the oil in, so that way everything flows out. Make sure that the O-ring, whoop, there we go. You want to make sure that the O-ring is on there as well, because if you lose that, then it's not going to have a proper seal. Then you're just going to let that flow, and then we'll get to the rest. Alright, the last step you're going to want to do is take the oil filter out. Now for me, I have an extra step, because I have my strut bar on here, so I'm just going to take that off real quick. I don't have a proper tool to take off the oil filter cap itself. I have to use a pair of pliers, and I'm just very careful about it. And then as soon as you take this oil filter out, it's going to start dripping oil. So you just want to be very careful of that, not getting oil anywhere. And that's what the oil filter looks like. And there's 3 O-rings that you're going to need to replace that come with every oil filter that you buy. So there's one right here, there's one right here, and then there's one around here as well. Next thing you're going to want to do is you're going to put the new O-rings back on here, and you want to lube them up just a little bit, so that way it's easier to get them on, and it's always good to use fresh oil to do that. So there's one, and I already have some oil, some fresh motor oil on my hands, and you just want to get them. Just want to slide that on there. And they each have a very specific place. The very smallest one is going to be at the top. The second smallest one, or the medium one, is going to go around here. And then the very last one, obviously the big one, is going to go at the bottom where everything screws in. So you're just going to lube that up a little bit, slide it on, and then get the filter on and put that back in, and you should be good to go, and you can start putting in the fresh oil. So that last O-ring, like I said, that last O-ring goes right there. The middle O-ring goes right there, and the small one goes right there at the top. And it doesn't matter which way you put your filter, you just slide that bad boy on there like that. And then you'll hand tighten it, and then carefully with a tool, if you have the proper tools, tighten it down to where it just starts to click, and that should be it. And then you fill the car with the fresh motor oil, and then you are good to go. Last step, before you put fresh motor oil in, you want to remember to put the oil drain plug in, and then you can fill the car with the fresh motor oil, and that's pretty much an oil change. Alright guys, and then the last 2 steps are pretty obvious. Are fill the car with fresh oil, and if you're doing the additive as well like I am, put that in right afterwards. And this will take the full 5 quarts. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to bring the car down off the ramps. I'm going to let the oil sit and flush through the car and run through the system. I'm going to turn it off. I'm also going to check the dipstick, see where the levels are at, which it should be completely full because this will take a full 5 quarts. And then after that, we're going to put in this MoS2 anti-friction engine treatment from Liqui-Moly as well. Alright, like I said before, the last thing I'm going to add is this MoS2 anti-friction engine treatment, and you add it straight to the oil. guys, that should just about do it for this video, and that should just about do it for how to do an oil change on a Mercedes-Benz W204 C-Class. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please hit like below. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a comment as well. I would love to hear from you guys. And until next time, peace.